What if I told you that heaven and hell are just the biggest real estate scam ever? Sounds absurd, right? But think about it for a second. You've been sold a dream, a mansion in the sky, streets of gold, eternal happiness. But here's the catch. You've never seen any photos, never toured the property, and you can't even get a brochure. All you get is some guy in a robe pointing at the sky and saying, "Trust me, it's amazing up there." Sounds like the worst real estate deal in history, doesn't it? Now, let's break it down. Imagine walking into a real estate office and they tell you they have a beautiful home for you, but you can't see it, you can't even visit, and you won't get the keys until after you die. All they ask is that you sign over your life's earnings, follow all their rules, and just believe it's all real. Would you sign that contract? Probably not. But that's exactly what we've been doing for centuries when it comes to the afterlife. You're told that if you don't follow the rules, whether it's paying tithes, going to church, or living a certain way, there's a fiery alternative waiting for you. No photos, no walkthrough, just a promise. What if the grand promises of eternal bliss and eternal suffering are just sales tactics? A way to get you to commit without any proof that either of those places even exist? Stick with me, and I'll show you how the greatest business model of all time works and why, just like with any other real estate deal, you might want to read the fine print before you sign. Imagine for a second that you're looking to buy a house. You walk into a real estate office, and the agent greets you with excitement. "I've got just the place for you," they say. "It's perfect. It's got everything: gold streets, mansions, and eternal sunshine." Sounds too good to be true, right? But don't worry, it's all legit. The only thing you need to do is sign up, hand over a percentage of your income, and follow some pretty strict rules. Oh, and you can't see the place until after you've passed. But trust me, it's exactly what you want. Now, if you were offered a deal like that in the real estate market, you'd probably laugh it off, wouldn't you? You'd never sign a contract to buy a house that you couldn't see, couldn't visit, and couldn't even get a picture of before you agreed to pay for it. And yet, this is the exact deal many of us sign up for when it comes to the promises of heaven. Heaven isn't some luxury condo you get to inspect before you buy. It's a promise sold to you with nothing but vague descriptions and a heavy dose of fear that if you don't buy in, you'll end up in an eternal nightmare. This is where the biggest scam of all begins. The metaphorical real estate in question is the afterlife, but it's sold to us with the same manipulative techniques that would make any seasoned salesperson blush. They don't give you photos. They don't give you blueprints. They don't let you take a tour. All you get is the promise of something amazing and the threat that if you don't comply, you'll end up somewhere worse. Heaven and hell are the ultimate property sales pitch, and the real trick is that you can't even challenge the deal once you're in it. There's no going back, no asking for your money or your soul back after you die. It's a one-way contract. When we start to peel back the layers of this grand promise, it quickly becomes clear that what we've been sold doesn't make any sense. The idea of heaven, for instance, is often sold to us like a gated community in the sky. Streets of gold, mansions for everyone, no crime, no suffering. What could go wrong with that? It sounds like a dream, but here's the catch. It's a dream with an unrealistic price tag, one that you can't even inspect before you commit. You're told to trust the people selling it to you, but they're not showing you anything real. They're not giving you any proof that this heaven exists. It's a blind trust deal, a sales pitch based on faith, not evidence. And if you ask too many questions, you're told it's beyond your understanding. Don't worry, they say. It's better than anything you can imagine. Let's think about that for a moment. How many times have we been sold something that was better than anything we could imagine, only to find out that it was a total letdown? Ever buy something online that was advertised as the ultimate experience, only to have it fall far short of expectations? Well, heaven is the ultimate blind buy. And here's the kicker, it's a product you can't even return. Once you've committed, that's it. No refunds, no exchanges. This whole idea that heaven is somehow beyond our wildest dreams is a bit of a cop-out. Imagine a real estate agent telling you, the house is beyond your imagination. It's got everything. You'll love it. You'd be suspicious, right? You'd ask to see pictures, to walk through the property. You wouldn't just take their word for it. But with religion, we've been trained to believe that the lack of details is actually a virtue. They don't give us specifics because the product is meant to be so perfect that it can't possibly be explained. It's beyond our comprehension. But that's just sales talk, an easy way to avoid answering the tough questions. Let's also consider what heaven is supposed to be like. It's usually described as a place with streets of gold, mansions, angels, and eternal bliss. But what exactly do you need gold streets for when you don't even have a body anymore? You're a soul, floating around forever. What are you going to do with a mansion when you don't need a bed, or furniture, or a roof over your head? In fact, the whole concept of heaven, as sold to us, seems a bit absurd when you really think about it. It's like selling someone a beachfront property when they don't even need the beach, or the ocean, or the property at all. It's a dream home with no practical use. What's the point of living in a mansion if there's no one around to share it with, or no way to interact with the world? And if we're going to get real about it, let's talk about the rules. Religion often tells us that we need to follow certain guidelines, and the consequences for not following them can be dire. Hell, the alternative neighborhood, is the ultimate punishment zone. Fire, torture, eternal damnation. But this also begs the question, if heaven is supposed to be so wonderful, why do they need to scare us with such a terrible place as hell? Why do they have to threaten us with the worst possible outcome to make heaven seem like a better deal? This is classic salesmanship. Scare them with the worst option, and they'll be eager to buy the upgrade. The whole heaven divided by hell dichotomy is just a clever way to create urgency and manipulate fear into compliance. The sales pitch goes something like this. Choose our premium plan, heaven, or end up in the basement with eternal suffering, hell. It's fear-based marketing at its finest. But here's the kicker, hell doesn't even make sense. Eternal punishment for temporary mistakes? It's like someone telling you that if you were caught stealing a loaf of bread, you'd be sentenced to life in prison. Imagine committing a small offense, and for that, you get a lifetime of torture. But this is the logic of hell, and it doesn't hold up. A temporary mistake, punished by eternal suffering. That's not justice. That's bad zoning. It's like condemning someone to live in a slum forever without ever giving them a chance to improve their situation. And for what? A few mistakes here on Earth? It's not punishment, it's poor city planning. This is where the contradictions start to pile up. If God is supposed to be all-loving, why would he create such a system? Why would a loving deity punish people for eternity over minor transgressions? This isn't divine justice, it's a bad business model. In fact, it's more like a predatory loan, where you sign a deal without fully understanding the consequences, and when you realize the terms, it's too late. The terms of religion are stacked in favor of the salespeople, the priests, the clergy, the middle management. They're the ones who get to interpret the rules, and they get to decide who goes to heaven and who goes to hell. Why is it that God's love is unconditional, but his system of rewards and punishments is anything but? Let's also talk about the fine print. Every religion has its own set of rules, and they're longer than the Bible itself. Don't do this, don't do that, and if you mess up once, that's it. You're out. You're cast into the fire forever. Meanwhile, if you say the right words before you die, you get a free pass. You can break every commandment, live a life of sin, and if you check the right box, you're in. This isn't about justice. This is about loopholes and contradictions. It's a game where the rules are rigged in favor of the people selling the idea of salvation. You can break all the rules, sin like crazy, and still get into heaven if you find the right loophole. Meanwhile, the nice little grandma who baked cookies for orphans but forgot to sign the official membership card? Straight to the flames. So, How do they sell this to us? With the promise of eternal bliss, of course. Heaven isn't just paradise, it's the ultimate luxury package. But here's the problem. There's no way to test it out before you sign the deal. Imagine if you went to a travel agent and they offered you a five-star vacation to paradise, but you couldn't see it, couldn't visit it, and couldn't even look at pictures of it. You'd think they were crazy, right? But when it comes to religion, that's exactly what they're selling. And the craziest part? We all sign up for it. We hand over our time, our money, our obedience, and our lives with no proof that any of it exists. And if we dare to ask for proof, we're told to have faith. Faith, the ultimate selling tool. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but you're expected to believe in it anyway. That's how they get you. That's how they've been getting us for thousands of years. Because in the world of heaven and hell, once you're in for good. No returns, no refunds, no second chances. It's the ultimate blind trust contract. And we've been signing it without ever asking for a tour. Let's take a deeper look at how the whole system works. The concept of heaven and hell isn't just a matter of spiritual belief, it's a fully operational business model that runs on fear, manipulation, and the promise of rewards that may never come. What makes it so effective, however, is how seamlessly it functions. The players behind this business know exactly how to make you feel guilty, afraid, and ultimately helpless, all while making you believe that this invisible real estate is the best deal you'll ever find. At the heart of this system is the promise of eternal life. Heaven, the dream home sold to you, comes with a hefty price tag. It doesn't matter how little you have, how hard you've worked, or what your situation is, this deal is non-negotiable. You can't haggle with God or the people representing His will. You can't ask for a better deal, or even consider alternatives. If you want to secure your place in this exclusive afterlife community, you have to pay, whether it's your time, your energy, or your money. And the crazy thing is, you don't even get to test it out before you sign up. You're not allowed to visit heaven to see if it's really as great as they say. You can't inspect the gold streets, or look at the mansions, or ask to see the architect's plans. All you're given is a vague promise. Trust me, it's going to be great. Now, imagine that you walk into a real estate office and are presented with an offer like this. The agent tells you that you're going to get this incredible property for free, but there are rules you must follow. They hand you a stack of papers, a thick book of commandments and regulations. Some of them sound harmless. Be kind to others. Don't steal. Don't lie. But then you see the list of rules that are absolutely ridiculous. No pork, no sex before marriage, no dancing, no drinking, no questioning, no fun of any kind. These rules aren't just a little strange, they're a straight-up blueprint for turning your life into a sterile, joyless existence. But the scariest part? You're told that if you break any of these rules, you risk losing everything you've worked for and being sent to the slums of hell, an eternal torment where you'll suffer for all eternity, with no possibility of appeal, no second chances. Doesn't that sound a little excessive? We're talking about eternal punishment for finite, sometimes trivial mistakes. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine you went to a store, picked up a loaf of bread, and accidentally dropped it on the floor. The manager sees you, and instead of letting you off with a simple apology, they throw you into a pit of fire for the rest of your life. Doesn't that seem a little disproportionate to the crime? And yet, this is the very premise behind the idea of hell. A temporary mistake, a fleeting moment of weakness, punished for eternity. Does that sound like justice? Or does it sound more like a terrible zoning law gone wrong? It's as if the city planners of the afterlife decided that one tiny slip-up here on Earth is enough to land you in the most torturous, horrible place imaginable forever. But what about heaven, the great reward at the end of all this? The ultimate incentive that's supposed to make all the suffering and obedience worth it? Well, here's the catch. Heaven isn't as wonderful as it's cracked up to be. Sure, the description sounds amazing. Streets of gold, mansions for everyone, eternal bliss, no suffering, no pain. But let's take a moment to look deeper at these promises. What are you supposed to do with all that gold? When you don't even have a body anymore, what's the use of walking on shiny streets? What's the point of mansions when you have no one to invite over? Heaven, as it's often sold to us, sounds less like paradise and more like an endless series of weird parties with no actual fun. What are you supposed to do with your eternal life in a place that seems like it's been designed by someone with a very limited imagination? It gets worse. The contradictions pile up when you start to think about the rules of entry. One of the biggest problems with the whole heaven divided by hell concept is how these rules are set up. The rules are stacked in favor of the sellers, not the buyers. No matter what, the house always wins. If you follow all the rules, you get the mansion in heaven. If you break them, you get the fiery pit of hell. But the worst part? The rules aren't even consistent. There's a long list of do's and don'ts, but there's no real guidebook for how to navigate them. Some of the rules seem trivial, like no pork or no shellfish, while others seem downright oppressive, like no questioning, no sexual pleasure, no dancing. And if you break any of these rules, even once, you risk being shut out of the heavenly paradise forever. And here's where the contradictions become impossible to ignore. What about the people who break all the rules but still somehow make it into heaven? According to many religious traditions, if you truly repent before you die, you can be forgiven, no matter how terrible your past. You can live a life of sin, commit heinous acts, and as long as you say the right words at the right time, you're off the hook. But what happens to the person who lived a good life, was kind to others, and followed all the rules, but never signed the official membership card? They're sent straight to hell. How is that just? How is that fair? It's like a game of Monopoly, where the rules are set up to make sure that the people running the game always win, the house always wins, no matter what. You could be a mass murderer, but as long as you say the magic words before you die, you're in. Meanwhile, the nice old woman who gave her last dollar to charity but never signed the dotted line is sent to eternal damnation. This isn't divine justice. This is just a rigged system designed to make the people selling the product rich and powerful, all while keeping the rest of us in fear and submission. Let's take it a step further. Imagine if this system worked in the real world, outside the context of religion. Let's say you bought a house, and the seller told you it was yours as long as you followed a long list of rules. You weren't allowed to question the terms, and if you broke any of them, even accidentally, they could come to your house and take it away. If you wanted to live in this dream house, you'd have to pay a hefty monthly fee, whether you could afford it or not. And the rules? They'd be completely arbitrary. You can't use certain appliances. You can't eat certain foods. You can't even have sex unless you meet the seller's conditions. You can't dance. You can't laugh too loudly. You can't speak your mind. All in exchange for a roof over your head. Doesn't that sound like the most absurd contract ever written? And yet, that's essentially what religion is asking of us. We're told to sign up for a place we can't see, pay for it with our time, money, and obedience, and follow rules that make little sense because, in the end, if we don't comply, we're threatened with eternal damnation. The system is designed to keep us in line, to make us believe that we're nothing without it, that we'll never find a better deal. And it works because we're terrified of what happens if we don't follow the rules. The worst part? Once you're in for good. There's no trial period, no chance to back out. Once you've signed on the dotted line with your faith, there's no going back. You can't call for a refund. You can't get your money back if the mansion turns out to be a glorified cardboard box. Once you've committed, you're stuck. No complaints, no returns, no second chances. And the people selling this product know that. They know that once you die, you won't be able to come back and say, hey, this wasn't what I signed up for. You can't write a bad review on Yelp. There's no customer service hotline. You're gone, and they've got your soul for eternity. This is the brilliance of the system. They've created a product that no one can verify, that no one can return, and they've set up a system where you pay up front with no way to challenge the deal. They've created the perfect business model. It works in every culture, in every country, and it plays on the one thing that every human has in common: fear of death. Fear is the best marketing strategy, and it's what drives the entire enterprise of heaven and hell. The fear of not measuring up, the fear of missing out on something great, and the fear of eternal punishment if we don't comply, those are the tools that keep us in line. Those are the tools that make this the greatest con of all time. What's truly astonishing is how we've been conditioned to accept this system as normal. We've been taught that this is just how the world works, that this is just the way things are. And anyone who questions it is met with the ultimate trump card: God works in mysterious ways. That's the ultimate denial clause, the one that shuts down any criticism or inquiry. If you ask too many questions, you're told that you don't have enough faith to understand the answers. But what if that's exactly what they want? What if the inability to question is the key to keeping you trapped in this system? This isn't about salvation. This is about control. And as long as we keep playing by the rules, they'll keep winning. But it's time to start questioning the system. It's time to stop accepting the promises of mansions in the sky and eternal fire without demanding proof. It's time to take a step back and realize that we've been sold a dream with no evidence to back it up. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to start asking for the blueprint. As we step back and look at the grand picture of heaven and hell, the ultimate real estate scam, we realize that we've been conditioned to buy into a system that offers us promises we can't verify, rewards we can't enjoy, and punishments we can't escape. This isn't about salvation. It's not about spirituality. It's about control. It's about selling something that doesn't exist and getting people to pay for it with their time, their obedience, and their unwavering belief. It's the perfect con, the one that runs on fear, the one that has no refunds, and the one that never gets questioned because, after all, you can't exactly ask for a second opinion once you're dead. Think about it. For centuries, we've been told that heaven is the ultimate destination, the place we should aspire to, but it's also been the ultimate leverage point to keep people in line. You're told that you can't see it, you can't touch it, and you won't know if it's real until you die. You're asked to trust a system that has no accountability, no transparency, and no way of proving that what it promises is true. And if you do what they say, you get the rewards: the eternal mansion in the sky, the streets of gold, the perfect community of angels. But if you step out of line, if you don't follow the rules perfectly, you'll be cast out, banished to eternal suffering. The stakes are high, and the consequences are irreversible. It's a deal that seems too good to be true, and that's exactly the point. It's designed to work like any other scam, except this one doesn't end when the product fails to deliver. This one lasts forever. The scariest part is that once you buy in, once you sign that invisible contract, you can never return to complain. There's no refund policy. There's no way to exchange your eternal life for something more realistic. You're stuck with the decision you made, regardless of how much evidence there is to suggest you've been sold a lie. This is where the existential question really hits home. What does it say about us, as human beings, that we're so willing to accept an invisible product with no evidence, no proof, and no guarantee that it's real? What does it say about the human condition that we've been trained to believe in a promise we can't test, a product we can't experience, and an outcome we can't return? Is it fear that keeps us buying into this scheme, or is it something deeper? Is it the hope that, just maybe, there's something after this life that makes it all worth it? Or are we, in fact, buying a narrative that simply serves to distract us from the reality of our existence here and now? If we truly examine the logic of this system, we would realize that the afterlife, as it's presented, is built on contradictions and fallacies. A place of eternal happiness, with streets of gold and mansions, described by a being who is supposedly infinite and loving, yet insists on an incredibly restrictive and judgmental set of rules. Why do we need golden streets if we're disembodied souls? Why do we need mansions if we have no physical bodies? And why is this so-called paradise painted as something we can't even imagine, something beyond our wildest dreams, yet described in ways that are clearly limited by human understanding? Are we just so desperate for meaning, so afraid of the unknown, that we'll settle for these vague promises and embrace them without question? Perhaps the bigger question is, what happens if we stop relying on the promises of an afterlife to give our lives meaning? What if, instead of waiting for an eternal reward, we choose to live fully in the present, to make the most of the time we have right now? What if we recognize that the true value of life isn't in the hopes of some unseen mansion, but in the connections we form, the actions we take, and the love we give while we're still here? The real estate of the afterlife is a distraction, a trap that keeps us from realizing that the beauty and meaning we seek aren't in some distant future, but right here in front of us. We've been sold a dream that makes us believe that the only way to find peace, happiness, and fulfillment is to follow a set of rules that, in many cases, don't make sense. And we've been made to fear the alternative hell so much that we'll do anything to avoid it, even if it means sacrificing our freedom, our joy, and our very sense of self. But what if hell isn't a place of eternal fire and brimstone? What if hell is the fear itself, the fear of not measuring up, the fear of being punished for our natural impulses and desires? What if hell is the absence of living fully, the absence of true freedom, the absence of questioning and challenging the world we've been told is the only one that matters? The more we examine the sales pitch of religion, the clearer it becomes that it's designed to keep us in line, to control us by manipulating our fear of the unknown. Heaven is the carrot, the promise of eternal bliss if we follow the rules, and hell is the stick, the threat of eternal damnation if we don't. But what if we no longer fear the stick? What if we learn to see it for what it is, a tool of control, a product of a system designed to keep us obedient, fearful, and submissive? What if we start to see the carrot for what it is as well, a shiny, empty promise that keeps us from fully living in the here and now? The truth is, we may never know what happens after death, but the idea that we have to live our lives in fear of an unseen, unprovable future in order to achieve some kind of imagined reward is not only unfair, it's existentially damaging. It holds us back from truly embracing life, from truly experiencing the world as it is, from questioning the systems that have been put in place to control us. If we really want to live authentically, we have to stop waiting for a reward that may never come. We have to stop allowing fear of the unknown to dictate how we live. We have to start asking the tough questions, start challenging the systems, and start creating meaning for ourselves here and now. The afterlife, whether it's heaven or hell, should not be the reason we live well. Our lives, in all their imperfection, in all their messiness, should be enough. So, the next time you hear about heaven, hell, or some other grand promise, ask yourself, why do I need to buy into this? Why do I need a future paradise to give meaning to my life now? And most importantly, how much of my life am I willing to give away to a promise that can't be proven, can't be tested, and that I'll never be able to hold in my hands? The greatest scam is not that we've been promised paradise, it's that we've been convinced that the only way to find meaning is to buy into it. And the real question isn't whether heaven exists or not, it's whether we're truly living while we're still here. So, here we are caught in a pitch so smooth, so polished, that we're willing to sign away our entire lives for something we can't see, touch, or verify. Heaven and hell, the greatest real estate scam in history, and yet we still line up, eager to pay the price, with nothing but a promise and a fear-driven deadline. Isn't it funny how we've been told to trust a system that gives us no evidence, no pictures, no walkthrough? Imagine buying a house where the agent says, "You'll love it, trust me, just sign here, no questions allowed." But hey, if the whole eternal bliss thing doesn't work out, at least there's always that fiery plan B, right? How convenient, because what's a luxury package without a decent threat to make the upgrade seem worth it? So, as you go on with your day, ask yourself, Why am I settling for promises of mansions I can't see? Why am I buying into the invisible, the unverifiable, and the unimaginable? Don't just buy into the sales pitch. Question it, challenge it. Because in a world where you can't even get a brochure for your afterlife, maybe it's time to stop signing invisible contracts. The stakes are too high, not too